We are about to start, so if you would please take your seats. Okay, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Community Union School District 303 School Board on Monday, July 12th at 7 p.m. Mrs. Marsan, would you call the roll to order, please?
Yes, Mrs. Barker is absent and Mrs. Bell is absent as well right now. Mr. Lackner.
Here.
Mrs. McCabe.
Here.
Mr. McNally.
Here.
And Ms. Weibel is also absent. Mrs. Fairgrieve.
Here. Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all very much for coming this evening. I would like to especially welcome two new members of our leadership team, Mr. Attaway and Dr. Igo. Welcome on behalf of the board, and thank you very much for joining the team. In addition to that, as you have seen and felt already, we're meeting a little bit differently this evening in terms of masks optional. We will have a little bit more of an update coming this evening related to how school will look like in the 2021-2022 school year, but really the bulk of the discussion will be happening as scheduled next Monday at our Learning and Teaching Committee. And with that, Mrs. McCabe, can you read the citizen? I'm sorry, I skipped one. Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Fairgrieve, thank you. This evening for the superintendent's report, I actually would like to first recognize Rich Zawaslak, who is with the VFW. He's going to come forward and introduce some people that he brought with him tonight because we have a special recognition to do for one of our North High School teachers.
I would like to thank you for having us here tonight. It is certainly an honor to be here. And we're here tonight because North has a very special teacher, Monica BoE, a modern history teacher at St. Charles North, was awarded the VFW State Teacher of the Year Award. So it's really a great honor that we can present the awards to her in front of her peers here. Just very briefly, Monica, for 3 years now, has invited Vietnam veterans to North to talk to all the juniors. We have one person from each branch of the service. We talk about our history, and we talk about what it was like personally growing up in the 60s with the draft, the war, everything, illicit drugs, everything that was going on then. Nothing compared to what's going on now, but you know, the students get a different perspective than what they would ever get from reading textbooks. And our greatest honor is at the end of this, the students write their comments about what they thought, and Monica passes those back to us. And it's amazing how they say what they have learned that you could never get out of a textbook. So we're really pleased tonight to be able to present this award to Monica. And I would like to introduce Laura Emma. She is the state VFW commander for the state of Illinois, and she will come up, give a few brief words, and then we'll present the awards to Monica.
Thank you for allowing us to present this very, very special award. There's two fantastic programs that we have in Veteran Foreign Wars. One is our Voice of Democracy and Patriots Pen Youth Scholarship Awards, and one of the others is our Teacher of the Year, which recognizes the fantastic award of our teachers. One of the things we evaluate, or three things we evaluate, is civic duty, patriotism, Americanism. So we are very honored to be here tonight to present these awards for a teacher here in your district. Without further ado.
So this is what is on the, on the
First present our state teacher year award. State of Illinois 2020, 2021, 100 years of veteran service, Smart Maher, VFW Citizenship Education Teacher, first place award is presented to Monica, is it Bailey, sorry, St. Charles North High School, grades 9 to 12, in recognition of excellently promoting citizenship education and patriotic principles of the state of Illinois, veterans of foreign wars. And do you have, oh, you have the envelope? Okay. And we'll present that to, well, we'll take this out of the box for the picture. Yes, do that. Right. We'll take that picture first. But that's not all, because you also placed it national, which is really significant. Veteran of Foreign Wars of the United States, 2020, 2021, Smart Maher VFW Citizenship Education Teacher Award, high school level, is awarded to Monica Bailey, St. Charles North High School, St. Charles, Illinois, in recognition of being selected the state teacher winner of your grade level category. This is our National Commander-in-Chief's picture right here. So, congratulations. And we have 3 categories, by the way, for the Teacher of the Year award. It's high school, middle school, and elementary school. So again, this is a great honor. Now, next we have an award to present to the school. Do we have that? The Veteran of Foreign Wars, United States 2021, 2020, 2021 Smart Maher VFW Citizenship Education Teacher Award is also presented to St. Charles North High School in St. Charles, Illinois. And there's more. State of Illinois, 2020, 2021, 100 years of veteran service, Smart Maher VFW Citizenship Education Award is presented to St. Charles North High School in St. Charles, Illinois, in recognition of excellently promoting citizenship education and patriotic principles of the state of Illinois veterans of foreign wars.
Well, we appreciate the VFW coming tonight to recognize Dr. Bailey with this special recognition. We also appreciate the work that she's done with our students at North High School to promote this program and these activities well deserved. So thank you. I did want to just briefly mention also tonight to the board that we, as many of you know, received additional guidance from the CDC, the Illinois Department of Public Health, and the Illinois State Board of Education on Friday. That is going to help us as we explore and develop our plans for the fall for our opening of school. As you can see this evening, we were actually able to have our meeting without masks for people that are fully vaccinated, and we continue to move in a positive direction given the current rate in our community as well as the changing guidelines. So we look forward to next Monday night at our learning and teaching meeting, bringing that updated guidance to the board for a discussion. And we hope to have a very positive opening to the school year for our students and staff members. Of course, we continue to prioritize student and staff member safety, but we also want to, and I would like for you to know as a board that as a district and as superintendent, I continue to advocate with both our Kane County Health Department and our state agencies to have as permissive of an opening as possible with only the necessary guidelines or restrictions in place based on our local community data. So hopefully we'll have some very positive news to share with you next week, and we look forward to that discussion. Thank you, Ms. Fairgrave.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson, for the superintendent's report update. Next, we will move to citizen comments. Mrs. McCabe, can you please read the citizens comment policy?
The school code provides for a public comment period at each board meeting, subject to reasonable constraints. The practice of this board is to limit public comment to 3 minutes per speaker to a total of 30 minutes per meeting. Speakers addressing the board are expected to maintain a reasonable level of civility. Also, personnel matters are sensitive and confidential. Comments regarding individuals should be respectful. Insults and defamatory remarks have no place in this setting. The board will terminate public comment if speakers cannot adhere to these guidelines. Please identify yourself at the beginning of your remarks.
So first to the board, we do have what appears to be more than 30 minutes worth of comments. My recommendation would be that we continue and hear all of the comments unless anyone has a concern otherwise.
I concur with that.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Sorry,
do-
I agree.
And maybe the record should show that Mrs. Bell has joined us.
Thank you. Okay. Our first citizen comment is from Lisa Raphael.
Hello, I'm Lisa Raphael. I have 2 kids that will be at Coron this year. I'm getting really tired of coming up here week after week and reminding this board what your duties are and are not. This is a school board, not a mental health board, not a political board, not a religious board, and sure as heck, not a health advisory board. This board's main objective is to give our children the best possible education. This board lacks leadership and communication. I'm still waiting for my reply from Mrs. Weibel for the statement about the community's systemic prejudice, bias, judgment, and racism. I'm also waiting for a reply from the district lawyers in regards to my Awake Illinois letter challenging the so-called mask law. You want a leader to tell you what to do with the mask? Well, here I am, make the mask optional. You want us parents to listen to you about our children's health when you have failed them in the one area you are supposed to be experts in, which is education. Dr. Pearson was supposed to lay out a strategic plan pre-COVID to get our scores up, but instead of holding him accountable, the board removed his goal. Our SAT composite scores are now below 1,100 and trending downwards. Our kids still needed to be educated throughout the pandemic, but the board and teacher union were more concerned about COVID restrictions and guidelines than actually teaching our kids. It is your job to fulfill their educational needs. It is our job as parents to keep our children healthy. If you want to start paying my kids' medical bills, then I will take your opinion about their health into account. Till then, take a seat and fix this failed school system. Bring back the reading and math specialist Dr. Pearson never hired back. Reopen Fox Ridge that has a capacity of 592 that could help in our overcrowded classrooms. Instead, it is currently only housing early childhood program of maybe 200 students and staff. This board has repeatedly made bad decisions that our children are paying the price for with their education. You think I'm going to let you make a failed decision about my kids' health? You are badly mistaken. You sit there on your thrones because we put you there. As easily as you were put there, it will be even easier to take you off your thrones for not voting in favor of what the community wants. Thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen comment from Teresa Melton.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Melton. I have 2 high schoolers at North and 1 elementary that's not yet in the St. Charles School District. I spoke to her first time last meeting and went over things that you should already know regarding the Illinois School Code. How ISBE, IDPH does not have any legal authority to tell you what to do with our children. The CDC, the ISBE, IDPH, and the governor give guidance. They do not give law. They cannot make these children wear masks. They have no legal authority. I sent all this information to you for your review, which I hope you all have if you didn't already have it. In addition, Pritzker's executive orders were void ab initio as of April 8th, 2020. So they are not enforceable. Most important is the fact that any emergency use authorization requires informed consent. That goes towards vaccines, it goes towards masks. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, Title 21 USC 360 BBB, reiterates that individuals be informed of the option to accept or refuse administration of the product and of the consequences, if any, of refusing administration of the product and of the alternatives to the product that are available and of their benefits and risks. The board has the authority to make this decision as of July 1st. Please listen to us parents. Yes, we're aware the CDC came out with new guidelines last week. Many, if you just went through the keynotes, will see they said no mask for the vaccinated and mask for the unvaxxed. This is segregation. This is discrimination against kids. And to put these kids against each other in front of themselves, peers are tough on each other, middle school and high schooler especially. To have them wearing this on their face, I'm unvaccinated or I'm this, it's not fair to these kids. You're singling them out. It's like asking one race of kids to dress this way and another one this way. It's no different. We have to stop and make everybody equal across the board on everything. If your concern is losing accreditation funding, nobody has the authority to do that. If your lawyers tell you, well, we're going to lose accreditation, where's the law to support that? I can't find it anywhere. Schools across the state are moving to make masks optional. We're begging you, please do the same. While masks serve no level of protection, scientific studies show that they lower oxygen levels in the blood while raising carbon dioxide levels, affect respiratory physiology function, actually trap exhaled viral pathogens, which increases the severity of viral load. They collect and colonize viruses and bacteria, are dangerous for those with asthma or other respiratory issues, and are a major threat to a child's development due to anxiety, sleep problems, and creating fear of germs. I sent you guys also the Florida study where they sent off 6 kids masks to see what they accumulated throughout the day. We had pneumonia. We had 11 different dangerous pathogens: pneumonia, tuberculosis, meningitis, sepsis, keratitis, granulomatous, amoebic encephalitis, pneumonia, bloodstream infections, meningitis, UTIs, resistant to antibiotics, food poisoning, Lyme disease, diphtheria, Legionnaire's disease, severe infections, high morbidity rates, meningitis, sepsis, but no COVID. Half the masks were contaminated with 1 or more strains of pneumonia-causing bacteria. 1/3 were contaminated with 1 or more strains of meningitis-causing bacteria. 1/3 were contaminated with dangerous antibiotic-resistant bacterial pathogens. In addition, less dangerous pathogens were identified, including pathogens that can cause fever, ulcers, acne, yeast infections, strep throat, periodontal disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and more.
Mrs. Melton, thank
Yes.
you. It's
Okay.
been time
Thank
is
you. I'm just asking, please give us a choice. Health care decisions are for our family. Education is for you. Please let us choose for our kids.
Thank you. Next, we have Elisa Ignash. My apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
Hello, my name is Elisa Ignash. I am a parent and admin representing the reopened D303 group with over 1,000 District 303 parents. The Illinois Department of Health has a system that can be found on their website titled Metrics for School Determination of Community Spread. The metric system is broken down by each county in Illinois. Within the system, there are 4 metrics that each county is rated on. The four metrics are test positivity percentage, new cases per 100,000, new cases, and youth case increase. Now, within those four metrics, the ratings are broken down into three tiers. The three tiers are minimal, moderate, or substantial. As of the most recent update on July 9th, Kane County's test positivity rate is 1.4%. The target goal for this metric is to be less than or equal to 5%. So our county is rated a minimal risk of community spread. Continuing on to the new cases per 100,000 metric. The metric target is to be less than 50 per 100,000. Kane County has 11 cases per 100,000, meaning that once again, below the target, and IDPH is rating our county as a minimal risk of community spread. The third metric that IDPH rates Kane County on is new cases. The target of this metric is to be decreasing or stable, and once again, Kane County is rated as a minimal risk of community spread in this area. The final metric tool is youth case increase. Youth in this metric is anyone in Kane County that is under the age of 20 years old. Again, the target is to be decreasing or stable. And again, with just 7 youth cases, IDPH issued a rating of minimal risk of community spread. That means that per the Illinois Department of Health's own rating system, Kane County is at or below the lowest earned status of school determination of community spread risks. Using this data provided by the state of Illinois specifically on Kane County, we can confidently say that our community rates are substantially low. And per the CDC's most recent guidelines, schools typically serve their surrounding communities. Decisions should be made by school administrators based on school population, families and students served, as well as their communities. The data shows our community is ready for options at all ages. The data and this room show that the families and students served are ready for options without discrimination at all ages. At the last meeting, I presented an ongoing locally focused petition to make math optional in District 303. Today, I am proud to update you that 1,494 of your constituents and their families support a mask optional 2021-22 school year for all students and staff. We're hearing cries for help from children with medical injuries directly related to mask mandates. We are repeatedly hearing discomfort objections from kids and adults of all ages. Do you know the definition of abuse is to regularly or repeatedly treat a person with cruelty? How many more times are we going to ignore the objections, repeat this cruel action, and fulfill the definition of abuse in our District 303 schools? They are clearly saying, I don't want this to happen to me again. As parents, we cannot count on the state of Illinois to put the best interests of our kids first, but we do believe in this school board to do the right thing for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next comment is from Janelle Van de Sample.
My name is Janelle Van de Sample. I'm a D303 parent, teacher, and taxpayer. My statements tonight are my own, although they are informed by conversations with my children, husband, neighbors, and colleagues. Let me begin by stating very clearly that I believe our children are more than a test score. I believe we have an obligation as a community to meet the needs of the whole child and to support students in being whole adults when they leave us. I believe there are many ways to define achievement and success. I believe public education provides the greatest opportunity for students to achieve their own personal goals, and I believe public education is essential to the effective functioning of our democracy. That said, I understand that student achievement on standardized tests is the objective measure by which I, as a teacher, our administration, and you as a board will be evaluated. With these interests in mind, I would ask the following of you as you look at how to positively impact student achievement in beginning our new school year. First, recognize the importance of students' sense of physical and psychological safety as well as belonging to their learning. You've heard Maslow before Bloom, which means our students need to ensure their most basic needs are met before they're able to learn to their potential. We cannot ask our students to achieve more or our staff to produce higher levels of achievement without an exploration of the barriers that are impacting that achievement. Include mental health in this dialogue. Student mental health was important before COVID, during COVID, and now in our transition back to school. Commit to supporting all students and recognizing both individual and collective needs. Second, consider the well-documented impacts of trauma on learning. Understand that we as a nation and a community have experienced collective trauma over the last 18 months, loss, instability, and conflict. Many of our students have had changes in their home lives. We need tools, time, and grace to heal together. A focus on learning loss ignores the social emotional needs of students and staff and fails to recognize how we can use this disruption and return to reimagine stronger communities, invest time and resources in supporting the transition in ways that go beyond just identifying gaps. Third, consider what we know about what is effective in improving student achievement. Dr. Hattie's meta-analysis of strategies to impact student achievement found that teacher-student relationships and SEL practices are consistently among the most impactful on student learning. Allow time and resources that support teachers in developing relationships to connect all students to school and to learning. Develop a plan from hearing from students as to what they need. Use the screening tools and survey data, but seek to hear directly from a diverse group of students to fully capture the D303 experience. Expand the role of students on the Citizens Advisory Committee or develop a student advisory committee to provide a forum to understand the experience of our students. Finally, recognize that some needs will be student-specific, while others will reflect patterns that are the result of structures and systems. Commit to learning and addressing both, without expecting students to be able to articulate them. Their needs are communicated through their achievement, but also through behaviors, interactions, or even through their silence. We must ask, listen, and observe to ensure that we as the adults are not missing out on any student's needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nicole Cornea. I'm not sure. It's C-O.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I am just going to say I speak for myself and some of the other teachers, but I do not represent our union. So I am just taking the position through myself and again, through conversations with colleagues as well. So I wanted to start out by, first of all, saying thank you to the administration and to the board. I think we did it right last year. We were one of very few schools that were in school every day, and we did it right. It was awesome. I was glad to be in school every day. Didn't love the masks, but it wasn't about me wearing a mask. It was about the kids getting their schooling. So thank you. You guys did a great job. I wanted to say that we are now in phase 5 and we need to go back to 2019. I would like to go back. I do not believe that masks should be mandated. We have multiple states around us that do not have mask mandates. I think it's over 30 now. Children don't need to be in masks. We spent a ton of money on a phonics program, and you cannot see children's mouths and how they're forming their mouths when they're doing the phonics work, and you can't see their faces. Some of the times a teacher can't even see who's speaking. And I echo what the parents have said so far about masks and social emotional learning, and about all of the diseases that can come with masks. And I strongly believe that we should go back to 2019 and have mask optional. I know in conversations with some of my friends, even one of my friends is like, well, I'm on the other side. I want my child to wear a mask, but I don't want them to be bullied. And I know in the last maybe 2 board meetings ago, the one that was like 5 hours long, someone brought something up about bullying. And I wanted to speak to that as well, because my son is a type 1 diabetic. He wears a pump, he has a medical device, and kids are going to pick something out, whether or not they're wearing glasses or not. And it is the teacher's job to end that. And if that's not happening, then my boss and you need to hold me accountable for that. It should not go on to be bullying. Bullying is very different than a name call that happens once in a blue moon. And that's my job to take care of that. So I think we should be mask optional this year. I don't think that kids need to be singled out, whether or not they're vaccinated or not. It's not my business. I'm not a healthcare provider. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a social worker. I am a teacher, and I just want to teach my kids. I just want to teach my students. So again, I'm asking for you to have it be mask optional, like much of the country is doing. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next comment is from John Pontarelli. I mean, you're on the beginning. You can either speak now or on the end, at the end. It's up to you.
I can speak now.
Okay.
I'm going to change it up a little bit, introduce myself. My name is John Pontarelli, proud parent of 4 and U.S. Army veteran. I would like to start by thanking the board for getting back to me regarding my questions about the deep equity audit and the agreement between D303 and Corwin. I am, however, disappointed that no one has followed up with me regarding my questions about the district discrimination or bullying program. I did receive an email from the assistant to the superintendent on the 29th of June asking if I wanted someone to reach out to me. Of course, I responded. I followed up with an email on July 7th asking if there was an estimated time frame, someone would reach out to me to discuss. To this day, no one has emailed me or gave me a call. So either the district does not have a current program, currently does not have a problem with discrimination or bullying, or we are receiving the typical treatment from a governmental body that does not care about our concerns. I'm hoping this is not the case. It would be greatly appreciated if someone could call within the next few days. So I've been sitting and listening for the last couple of months of why we need to implement an equity program. And I still cannot wrap my head around why equity. It seems there has been a shift lately in the district that the equality of opportunity is no longer the goal of D303. The goal now is the equity of result. We all know what the equity of result gets us. It stifles innovation, it stifles creativity, and it limits the mental growth of an individual. But most importantly, it is contrary to our basic nature. Last month, we were presented with what was called an alligator graph and how we bring the low-level achievers to the overachievers. I don't think equity is going to bring that. Lowering our standards in District 303 is going to bring us what we want. You are tasked with one mission: to provide a high level of education to our children, to nurture and promote growth, to create critical thinkers and give our children every advantage to succeed in today's harsh world. How is the implementation of an equity program going to bring D303 back to academic excellence? Sometimes I wonder how we all made it through school without all these programs. Equity, empathy. I wonder how the teachers are able to teach with all these programs they have to worry about. Let the teachers do their job. Let the teachers teach our children about academics. Let me do my job and teach my children about morals and ethics. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Avery Gerhart.
Hi, my name is Avery Gerhart. I have spoke 2 times already, but I'm here to speak again because nothing has changed. The COVID restrictions really affected my learning. For example, in music, we couldn't sing. That was a hard change for me because singing was my favorite part of music. Also, one of the main things in music is singing. In science, I was really disappointed that we didn't get to that we didn't learn the science of flight. I was so excited when my 2nd grade teacher told me that we would be learning that in 3rd grade, but it didn't happen, which really disappointed me. My mom also couldn't come in to volunteer at school or be a surprise guest reader for my birthday. That also made me feel really sad. So this year, I hope things will be different. Make math optional, and please bring things back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Chris Gross.
Good evening. I don't think I'm going to be able to top that one. Nice job, kiddo. Good evening. My name is Christopher Gross. I have 4 children, 2 of which are going to be in the district. I haven't been to one of these meetings before, so I appreciate everyone taking the time and running through your program, giving us an opportunity to speak. I think there are so many of us here today interested in speaking because we're not really sure what's happening, and we're looking for some engagement and we're looking for some communication. And I appreciate the position that you're all in. It's got to be very difficult to obtain all that feedback. But the first thing that I heard this evening when I came in is that the board's not going to be taking any questions. I'll just say I might be speaking for myself. I might be speaking for others. That's challenging as a parent, as a citizen who's interested in participating, to hear that you're not going to be able to ask questions and receive feedback. So I would just make a suggestion that be contemplated. I certainly appreciate that you got to bind that into a couple hours, and those things are recognized and appreciated. But again, maybe just speaking for me, I think we'd all appreciate some heightened engagement. Give us the opportunity to ask questions, get some answers. This is probably, unprecedented times. I recognize that we're all looking for a little bit more communication, a little bit more information. First, I guess the second thing I would say is echoing some of the comments I heard about the limitation to children's academic success in a mask environment. I've got a daughter who's learning how to read. It's extremely difficult when the teacher can't see their mouth move, can't see the expressions that they're making. Nonverbal communication. I'm not an academic. I'm not a professor. I'm sure many of you are more qualified to answer that than I am. But nonverbal communication is an important part of communication that I think is really, really missed in a mask environment. We were set up with some boundaries. When we achieved those boundaries, we're told things are going to be going back to normal. And I think all of us are a little bit uncomfortable with the communication about that, how that's progressing. I do recognize that insurance and liability and indemnity are all major things that all of you have to take into consideration. But I would ask that you seriously consider the actual academic progression that our children are making and weigh that above the legal ramifications and the insurance and the risk ramifications that you're thinking of. I would ask that you give these parents the opportunity to make decisions for the healthcare of their children, and let these schools reopen without masks. Let them be optional, and let those parents make those kinds of decisions. Thank you very much for your time tonight, and good luck with the decision making.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Klepacki.
My name is Jessica Klepacki. I have 3 young children in D303. I've been an engaged parent virtually attending meetings and emailing the board for the past couple months, but I felt like it was time to come to a meeting to make sure my voice, which is very similar to many, many other parents, be heard. As you all take careful consideration to set the guidelines for next year, I strongly ask you to not universally mandate masks. We're going back to a full 7-hour day for children who are categorized as low risk and non-super spreaders of COVID-19. And we're considering masking them because the ISBE says so for an entire state with varying case levels. It's horrible in so many ways, but the long-term physical and mental effects are heartbreaking. I just lived through a year of my preschooler covering her face and playing in separate stations during a crucial developmental stage of learning social skills and understanding facial cues. I can't do it again. Just announced yesterday, District 113A of Lamont has updated their mask policies to the following. Masks are no longer required for vaccinated individuals. Masks are recommended for unvaccinated persons, and masks are required on all public transportation, which makes masks required on school buses, but allows their parents to parent. And there are other districts across the state making choices for their children based on our communities, not a blanket policy from the ISBE. Use the several other mitigations we have in place: social distancing, hand washing, self-certification, all of which have been proven effective. Stand up for our children. Let their parents make their choices. Be a leader in the state. I promise you other districts will follow. Listen to us parents. This is a pledge you took when you first sat in your seat on this board to represent the constituents of this district. Stadiums are at full capacity, so my child is less likely to contract COVID while using the bathrooms visited by thousands, but must be masked in a classroom with 20 peers. Please no universal masking for 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Amy Carey Djagovic.
Thank you. I know that's a tough name. Hi, my name's Amy Carey Dejanovich. I have 2 children. One will be attending District 303 in the next couple of weeks. I wanted to thank the board for hearing me today and also allowing all of the others to extend their time to hear them as well. I also wanted to congrats Miss Bailey for her award in the school as well. I do want to say that we may not agree on all the points, but I think that we come from the same place, caring for students, teachers, and the community. Vaccines, I'm hoping that the district will not separate children who are not vaccinated from those children that are. It is not approved by the FDA and has not had the time to see 5 years effects. This was approved as emergency use only. My daughter went through an entire private school year of not being vaccinated. As much as we have hoped and wished that students would keep 6 feet apart, we know with young age that's difficult to do. If a school can do this successfully as they have, I think it's indicative that we don't require students to be separated out as vaccinated and not vaccinated. I bring this up because that's what I heard at the last board meeting. This brings me to the point of face masks. Masking is based on the theory that students are wearing them correctly and effectively. Face masks were not meant to be used multiple times. They are meant for single uses. However, I can say with confidence that many are reusing the mask over and over. Children very rarely spread COVID to adults at low risk of getting the virus. Spread in schools is not common. Masking is impractical in school settings. Masks are easily contaminated from hands, food, hair, floor, etc. Children would touch their face. As soon as they do this, it will be contaminated. This will impact health of our children, make them unhealthier than healthy. I ask you to follow the science. CDC says that cloth and surgical masks are not effective against the spread of the virus. The WHO found no evidence that wearing a surgical mask of a healthy person prevents the spread of COVID-19. A Danish study of 6,000 showed no statistical evidence of prevention of spread of COVID by wearing a mask. Quebec public health officials daily single mask wearing instead of a one-time use in clinical settings increase bacteria and pathogens. I ask you to allow the students, faculty the right to choose if they would like to wear a mask in the upcoming school year and not mandate on whether vaccinated or not. Now, I will also tell you that we have a unique situation in our family. I have a son with a unilateral hearing loss. He only makes up 5% of student population nationwide. He recently was diagnosed with a lifelong disease that has no cure. After that meeting with the doctor, he said to me, "Mom, what else is going to happen to me? What next?" And, I'm really kind of concerned about the DEI. Here's a boy that has a lot of challenges in life in the 15 years that he's been with me. That he doesn't, I don't want him to be taught that he doesn't have any challenges, but I also don't want him to be taught that he's a victim. That, that I have been teaching my son the basics of having empathy, ethics, and good values. I'm asking you as the board to go back to the basics and teach our kids math and science and reading. I will do the rest. When I gave birth to my son, that's what I promised him.
Thank you. Next is Kim Hendricks.
Hi, everybody. I see that everybody's giggling because this does look outrageous. If you didn't catch my name, it is Kim Hendricks. I know you can't see me under here. And I want to ask you, do I look ridiculous right now? Does this shield protect me? Does this mask that's made of mesh protect me? Does these gloves stop me touching anything else with COVID? It doesn't. The first time I came to talk, I came in without a mask on after it was okay to go places after being vaccinated without a mask. I was rushed by somebody, hand out extended at me. She didn't know me. She didn't know if I was vaccinated. She didn't know if I had symptoms. She didn't know anything about me. She immediately discriminated against me. She immediately felt threatened by me. I mean, what kind of separation is that? Did she judge me because I wore a red shirt? Because I might have a different perspective than her? I don't know. Did she not feel safe because I didn't have one of those on? I don't know. But that's segregation in itself. After that, I thought to myself, why are we not following the science anymore?
Clearly, this is not going to protect you or I, but everyone's okay with it because it's compliance. When did feelings override facts? Are any of us physicians here? I know nobody on the board is. Medical freedom is a person's individual right. Whether it's women's rights, medical vaccine rights. And I don't think it should ever be infringed on by any person. And if somebody in government or community boards thinks that they have the right to vote on how me or my children or family should do things, well, then I don't think those people should be in government or on the board. I'm really sick of the feel good, sounding good policies. I mean, I begged in an email to try to find out what this strategic plan was. I think I got like a 15-page PDF with mainly pictures in big font about Hispanic kids getting Spanish-speaking teachers and this and that. It was not sorry, tongue twisted. The plan was vague, all in that. We got funding for it. We've hired on somebody who's going to make 6 figures to find the racism in 303, but yet we're having to pay $300 a month to send our kids to full day kindergarten. I don't understand. We got the funding for that, but not our kids. I know my time is up, but I'm going to wrap this up because I got cut off last time on the same topic. CRT is racist. Should not be taught in schools. The fact that we're even able to implement the idea of putting CRT into our schools and a public school just shows how faulty that is. I mean, it's really just a theory. To me, I think it's detrimental, especially to Black America. It's a racist operation. It's based off of Black stereotypes. And I think it's detrimental to tell any children that there's a person that internally hates you because of the way you look. I could not imagine that. And kids grow up feeling like that all the time. And that's terrible. And I think that sitting here teaching that even if you can't find your racism, you're that racist. What is that? That's not okay. I could never say that to my child or any other child for that matter. And it breaks my heart. Like, I'm on the verge of crying to think that I could tell some kid, you know what? I know I'm white and I internally hate you. Who says that? That's not okay. And the fact that anyone thinks that they should teach this to children, we're going to wake up 30 years from now and say, holy shit, we just made these kids racist. And I'm sorry for swearing, but that's what's going to happen. And it's not okay. And I'm sorry I'm taking more time up, but I cannot.
Thank you very much.
It's important to me.
Thank you. Next is Valerie Chigaris.
Hello. I'm short. My name is Valerie Chigaris. My daughter will be a sophomore at St. Charles North this fall. And I am here tonight to ask DO3 to please make masks optional this school year for all students, regardless of their vaccine status. My daughter and our entire family chose to get the vaccine. Some families chose not to get the vaccine or not to get it for their kids, and that's their right. It's also their right to not be required to wear masks based on their decision. You can't segregate the vaccinated and unvaccinated because that's discrimination. Masks are hurting many students in different ways: anxiety, isolation, not being able to socialize normally and make new friends. They are affecting learning and reading, not to mention the health risks like inhaling too much carbon dioxide and the bacterial growth inside the masks that are making our kids sick. They are doing more harm than good. Each day we are hearing of school districts in our area implementing the mask optional policy for this school year. Just today, District 113A, Lamont, Community Unit School District 4, and Vandalia School District number 203. Their decisions were based on the Illinois Department of Health, the Illinois State Board of Education, and the CDC guidelines announced last week. I implore DO3 to follow suit. To quote Haley Smead, a mother from Santa Rosa, California, during her recent school board meeting, she said, "It's not society's job to protect every other individual. It's your own job to protect yourself and your family." She also added, "It truly does make me sad that the face masks have morphed from a virus protection strategy to a political statement." And I couldn't agree with her more. We have a vaccine for COVID-19. If you choose to get the vaccine, you are protected from the virus. If you choose not to get the vaccine, you know the risks of possible infection. You make the choice if you put on the mask. I would expect D303 to be a leader of choice and common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rachel Cave.
Hi, my name is Rachel Cave. I have 3 kids in the district, elementary, middle, and high school. This will be short. Everybody has spoken what we know about masks. I'm just here in support of mask optional for this coming school year. So I won't waste your time with more stats and figures. You all know them. I know more guidance is coming next week. Please make the right choice and go mask optional. Thank you.
Thank you. AJ Lemke.
My name is Arthur Lemke. I'm a former member of City Council and now free on Monday nights. And I appreciate the involvement here and the involvement of the citizens and the interest of the board. I'm going to send, to make sure I can cover everybody, I'm going to send an email with more detailed information, but I support the pause and I hope that can be continued until we get some concrete plans about what we might do to improve issues if audit were to find issues. And that's it. I'll defer to others. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Sanders.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us speak. Thank you for choosing to run for school board. It takes a lot of time and effort out of your day. And thank you for this during this very tough and turbulent times, as you can tell. My son went to D303 first through 12th grade and I cannot complain about how great this education was here. My career has been an educator, first a special ed teacher, and then a school counselor. And I did that for many years in the Glenbard school system. The last 10 years have been a privilege. I was able to work and have been working as a co-coordinator of equity, diversity, and inclusion at Glenbard West High School. We have it at all 4 schools. During COVID, we held our meetings and programs via Zoom. It was a safe place and space for students that I never, ever felt the 9 years before. I learned a great deal about how many of the students felt marginalized and many times unsafe, which froze their learning. When you as a board listen to students in D303, they probably have shared similar feelings. Giving all students dignity and having their voices heard is essential. That is all equity is seeking to do. Help all understand others' cultures and experiences. I support the board to continue to move forward with culturally responsive training, not to be confused with critical race theory, 2 different things. The statistics and facts prove equity has made a difference in my district. Thank you for considering all students and to move forward with an equity program in D303. Thanks.
Thank you. Sue Broxham.
Good evening, and thank you all for your service to our district, our community, to the D303 constituency. My name is Sue Broxham, and I have raised 2 young men in the D303 district, and they also got a great education. It's really interesting to reflect back at this place where we are. I'm going to take just a quick second and say that the fact that I didn't have to navigate what the parents now and the teachers now are navigating with the pandemic is, I have to say it's a relief, and yet I feel a little guilty that that's something you guys have to deal with now. So I really appreciate all the different points of view here and the opportunity to express them. I'm also here to speak about my support of the equity program. My own education as somebody who's in their 60s was through the 1960s and 1970s into the 80s. And what I've learned in the last 6 years about what I didn't learn in my upbringing. And I think we all can say that as we've talked to our parents and our grandparents. So I do really, really support the sharing of how we need to see our world differently as the world changes. And so I am voicing my support to continue with the equity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jessica Bridges.
Hi, my name is Jessica Bridges. I'm a parent of 2 in the district, and I'm actually here to speak about social emotional learning. Last meeting, we were discussing, each board member discussed different programs that we would like to implement to try and address the drop that we had in COVID or any issues that we had during the COVID year with social emotional learning. And I'd just like to speak on that. I believe that for children, we have some very important and well agreed upon things for their social and emotional needs, such as stability and reliability, a safe place to go for learning, and kids need to play. And last year we watched as the board and the administration stripped that away from our children. So before we implement any new programs, I would like to make sure we get back to normal. And I would also like to mention that there seems to be a lot of misinformation about the culturally responsive teaching still. Can we get access to those materials, maybe online, so everybody can be on the same page again? And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Robertson.
Good evening. I would like to thank all of you for taking the abuse of being school board members during a pandemic and under these conditions. It has to be difficult for all of you. Thank you so much for your service. I happen to be an industrial microbiologist, and I consult worldwide. And I wasn't going to talk about masks, but I think I will mention that. What I want to do is, I'm really happy that you're doing the audit on cultural relationships and so on, because I feel that as somebody who works internationally, I have got to learn not to offend or I need to know more information. And my experience, I have found, is not universal. I have a very close friend who happens to be African-American, and she was my assistant. She has a master's in microbiology, and she's also one of the best dressed women I know. But Nicole and her husband got pulled over in Naperville in the fog for driving too slow. And she called me because she wanted a white witness on the phone. And I thought she was being absolutely ridiculous, because my experience, the police are very nice and, everybody gets treated okay. And well, it turns out, no, we don't. And until the Sandra Brand situation happened, my eyes were closed. And when I work anywhere, I want to know information. Our children are no longer working at a level of just going to work in a community where they don't travel 50 miles more away from home to do this. And we need more of that type of information so our kids are competitive on the global stage. And that's very, very important. Now, when it comes to masks, I'm hearing all of these dread diseases that you can get from wearing a mask, which is really fascinating for me because with all the coursework I've ever taken and the fact that I wear masks to protect myself from chlorine dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, as well as viruses and bacteria, and the fact that surgeons wear them for hours at a time without having a problem, it really mystifies me. That being said, I'm hoping that as soon as everyone can get vaccinated and the trials are over for the younger children, they become vaccinated. And I plead to anybody in this room who has not been vaccinated, really consider it because that Delta variant is scary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Just as a reminder, we are very grateful for the citizen comments, but we also ask in return that you are respectful of everyone that's speaking as well, whether it's in your opinion or agreement or not. With that, that concludes citizen comments. And now we will move on to committee reports. Mr. McNally, would you like to start with learning and teaching?
Okay. I had to pull it up here. So we started with our student engagement goal update. The measurement tool utilized to assess was Panorama. Each teacher received feedback from their students with 5 areas measured: classroom engagement, pedagogical effectiveness, classroom rigorous expectations, classroom teacher-student relationships, and valuing of subject information. The first high school student survey was administered in December 2020 and professional learning provided for staff in February and March of 2021. Survey was administered in May of 2021. And for the discussion items we had were strategies in place to work with subgroups that identified at a lower engagement level. Survey and survey timeframe intended to remain the same from year to year for comparison ability. Ms. Christensen, in her new role, will work collaboratively with the schools to share feedback with students and leverage student participation and collaboration between groups to include this data and SEL survey data. I'm going to move this back. I think I'm sounding like I'm kind of loud there, so maybe I ease off my coaching voice here. SEL goal update, Dr. Patty Pelagi and Ms. Kate Vincent of the Instructional Interventions Department provided an update on the board's SEL learning goal and responded to questions. SEL goal was to have 80% of students in grades 2 through 12 who scored an average of 1 to 2.9 out of 1 to 2.9 on a 5-point scale on the ECRA SEL screener to demonstrate growth of 1 point from their August 2020 screener score. 32% of the students that fell within this group attained the goal. 52% measured gained 1.9 points. 69% of students with 1 to 2.9 in the fall were at 3.0 or higher in the spring. 19% of the students had no change or reduced self-rating. Morning meeting is evidence-based and needs to include specific components. The elementary grades were provided professional development throughout the year and embedded with both ELA and math instruction. Verify parents that have data for logging into PLP tutorial and otherwise received results, and SEL data is shared with the parents. Innovative learning, spring K-8 board goal update. Mrs. Jennifer Phillips and Mrs. Tina King shared summary of the iReady data in mathematics and readings for students in grades K-8 in relation to the K-8 board goal of innovative learning. An analysis subgroup data was presented and data was compared to national and state norms. District students outperformed the national and state groups, including all subgroups. The discussion was to look at the 8th grade performance in math with a breakdown by course and link with high school scoring. How does it translate into action to improve SAT? Math skills are used in an interdisciplinary manner. for real-time responsiveness to the math data. Student service teams are looking at hard growth data to identify kids in the spring to place more appropriately, pinpoint scheduling articulation to the next level. Resource teacher specialists will be back in their roles, primarily working in tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3. Investment is needed in tier 1 growth in the classroom. Middle school math interventionists are participating in training during the summer. New ELL interventionists have been added to the middle school, helping with instructional strategies. Acceleration versus remediation is to be discussed briefly at a future meeting, and board members will like more updates throughout the year. The grades 9 through 12 skill gaps by course update. Mrs. Audrey Christensen and Mr. Jim Richter, high school principals, provided an update. The 9 through 12 skill gap closure by course at the high school level were available to address questions. Nearly all gaps were closed, and those identified that were not closed were not prerequisites, as they were skills for future courses. Discussion data will continue to be used as part of the next steps in PLC process. It provides a good understanding of where kids are as they are walking in. Process is fairly new at the high school level. However, teachers saw the benefit of doing the work they did at the K-8 level. A similar process is already built in. North and East high schools will continue their collaboration. The teams will return and provide an update on the skills gap work in September. School improvement plans will also be presented at that time. The process will integrate the school into the school improvement plans. And we will be meeting on July 19th. I believe the time has been changed to 5 o'clock. We adjourned at 7:21. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Next is the Business Services Committee update, which I will go ahead and deliver as well. We had several items for discussion. We reviewed our Mid-Valley and District 303 financial reports through May 31st. That's a standing agenda item that we have. In addition, we also reviewed the COVID-19 expenses to date, and you should find that in your board meeting packet for tonight as well. We also reviewed the second draft of our D303 budget for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. The final draft, it will come back to the Business Services Committee meeting on July 26th. We have several items that are under consent for this evening that we also discussed. We have annual software and support for IT renewals. We also have our annual review and recommendation of approval for defined existing safety hazards for the 2021-2022 school year. And finally, we also received a food service update, and this relates specifically to the high school program. Administration is working with Quest to develop a memorandum of understanding, and we will see that as well at the July Business Services Committee meeting. And that is my update. Next, Mrs. McCabe.
We have two committee meetings. We had one committee meeting for policy, which was very short. Mr. Lackner and I are working on the board agreements, and we will have our next meeting on July 26th at 6:30. We would like all board members to be in attendance because we'll be speaking to those board agreements as well as to communication. So there wasn't much that happened at our previous policy meeting. Also, CAC did not meet. However, Mrs. Bell is now co-chairing with me, and we are in the process of accepting applications for new membership. We have over 70 applicants right now, and Mrs. Bell, Mrs. Smith, and I will be meeting. I think the deadline is July 30th, and we'll be meeting to go over the next steps for interviews and decision-making on who will be in that membership. I believe that in August, at one of our board meetings, we'll be talking about areas the board would like CAC to focus on. And in the meantime, on July 22nd at 5 PM, I say it says 5 to 8 PM, we will be having our facilities presentation, and hopefully all board members will be able to attend to see the presentation from the facilities committee. Mr. Lackner or Mrs. Bell, if they have anything else to add. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for doing that update. I'm excited to, I just wanted to add that I'm excited to review all of those applications and start a new year with the CAC. I think it's going to be fabulous.
Thank you, Mrs. Bell, very much, and Mrs. McCabe for those updates. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McNally, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. McCabe. Is there any item anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, Mrs. Marson, please call the roll call.
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Lackner,
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. McNally,
Yes.
Mrs. Fairgrave.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. And next on our agenda, we have item number 6 for information. Please note there are several of our standing information items that are noted there. Moving on to new business. Does anyone have any new business? Okay.
We have a scheduled update associated with the return to school policy in the L&T committee meeting. I think for new business, the exploration that the board has done with the administration associated with the legal implications of moving away from state guidance will be an important addition in that discussion.
Yes, I would agree with that. And my understanding is we also will have representatives from our legal firm in attendance as well.
They're planning on attending the meeting and providing the board with guidance.
Thank you. Any other comments related to new business? Okay. Okay, do we have any citizens' comments? And we do. First, Max Gordon.
I have to read again.
And yes, you do.
The school code provides for a public comment period at each board meeting, subject to reasonable constraints. The practice of this board is to limit comment to 3 minutes per speaker to a total of 15 minutes at the end of the meeting. Speakers addressing the board are expected to maintain a reasonable level of civility. Also, personnel matters are sensitive and confidential. Comments regarding individuals should be respectful. Insults and defamatory remarks have no place in this setting. The board will terminate public comment if speakers cannot adhere to these guidelines. Please identify yourself at the beginning of your remarks.
Thank you, Mrs. McCabe. And Max Gordon, please.
Greetings. I'm wearing the mask out of respect for the sign on the front that said, if you're not vaccinated, I had COVID. Okay, so, but there's no qualifier for that. So that's why I'm wearing it out of respect for your sign out there. Thanks for giving me this few minutes. And Mr. McNally, just to follow up on your board report from 6/21, I was going to present this at the last meeting. Board member Weibel wasn't there. Is she here tonight? I can't. Okay, I was looking and I didn't see her. I still got to give it before it becomes dated. It's like old newspaper. Keep your word. Your word is, or actions of the board means something. The 6-14-7-0 vote to pause deep equity was referred to as a clean pause. We believe you. We believed you. We believed you were going to select an equity audit provider, complete an audit, then based on audit data, restart the commitments the board made to implement equity within D303. That turned out to not be true. This must stop now in this moment. I attended the 6/21 L&T committee meeting. At the very end of the board meeting, we thought it was all over. We were getting ready to read citizen comments, and oh, by the way, we wanted to make sure the students know, this is a statement from board member Weibel, who's not present again. We wanted to make sure the students know that their safety, learning environment, social, emotional well-being is of the utmost priority for the board. Some of the board members Would like to ask the staff to produce a quote of 4, not 3, not 2, not 1, but 4 or so student-based equality programs to bring to East High School and North High School for the fall of 2021, encompassing all student groups. Something we can see, she goes on, something we can see that would bring students together to talk about equality. So 4 vendors, she goes on, I would guess, or 4 programs. So if your team could bring that in July, that'd be great for the board to see and start talking about. Denise Herman, who had 7 days left on her contract, or 7 working days left, responded quickly, we can definitely do that. She went on, then finalized in her comments, not a program, not a curriculum. I get why it's not a curriculum. I read your board policy. It's a curriculum, it's got to be approved through LMT. Continue to harness the student voice, she says, to Dr. Herman. It's good to find ways to organize to provide you the feedback. The board member Fairgrieve stated, although I do think it is important to understand what we have today in schools, which is likely where the audit comes in, so we understand what we have and where there are gaps before we overcomplicate. Well said, common sense. At this point, board member Weibel said, I want to clear that. Several board members came to the committee and asked to make sure that we have an opportunity for students to speak fluidly by the fall to someone with credential about their concerns with equality. So I just want to make sure that our options are, the point is, you got to stay with the audit. When the audit's complete, I roll over to whatever you decide on equity, okay? That's the deal. Thanks.
Thank you. John Pontarelli. Okay, all right, thank you. Michelle Cassar? I'm sorry.
My name is Michelle Cazaza. I have 3 children. I have 2 left in the district. I'm also an advocate for Awake St. Charles. We moved here for the school district. Now we may pull our children depending on what your decisions are, what you stand up for. First, I'd like to present the petition to removal of Ms. Wabel, who's not here. According to policy 260, board member removal from office. The timeline of violations fall under policy 2220 and 810. Violation timeline consists of eight accounts dating from May 11th, 2020 through June 28th, 2021, which I've emailed to the entire board. And I also have a copy here to give to you. A full written statement from Ms. Weibel, read by the president, Mrs. Barker. We are duty bound by oath and our humane ethics to take care of our students. We have a systemic problem of prejudice, conscious, subconscious bias, judgment, and racism that runs deep through humankind, students, parents, and community alike. This cannot be addressed with hand slaps to teachers and students. We must give the opportunity for the voice for those who feel unsafe, uncomfortable, and unable to learn in the education system we provide. We need to provide a form for that now by the fall, whether it be mediated by an outside mental health service, professional mediation, or equity team. There is no nefarious agenda, caring for our fellow human. The goal is kindness, safety, community values. All those values we are held to a higher power. Those values and morals we must make a priority if we hope to ascend as a species. If we do not act now to hear the cries of the children, we fail at our job and you fail as parents at yours. That's what she said. This is very alarming to me and to many other members of our community. It goes against your actions. She's not here for me to tell her that too. And your bio, which I also have a copy of her bio here. In her own words, she says to focus on what's good for our kids, putting them first amongst her other goals. Be an advocate for every child. I would like her to elaborate to us how MASK and CRT advocates for every child, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. It's not a one size fits all. CRT is a Marxist indoctrination we don't want to be taught to our children. It's hate, division, and it's not American. It's offensive, and we do not have racism in our DNA. Financial responsibility that she spoke about. How much of our tax dollars has this and will go towards audits and other outside systems? Your duties on this board are academic improvement. You have the local decision to make the power to make mask optional. You're acting out of fear, claiming that you must follow guidelines set forth by ISB, who operates under Title 23 and ILCS 105. IDPH, who are said to be following the CDC. They are also guidelines. Those departments do not have the authority to create laws. Guidance are not laws. They have no legal authority to enforce masks or vaccines to withhold funding for opposition. They are administrative bodies. I want to remind you guys that Illinois legislature are the only ones who can create laws.
You've gone over your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I just ask you guys to exist to educate and not create or interpret law.
Thank you. Next is Carla Macaluso. Thank you.
Macaluso, thank you. I had two boys that graduated from East. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I want to start with a verse that says, how much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight rather than silver. It's Proverbs 16:16. I was also going to start with Ms. Weibel's comments, which I found alarming when she spoke about our community and parents and everyone having a systemic problem of prejudice, conscious, subconscious, bias, judgment, and racism running deep. Again, I look forward to the audit because I've lived here 21 years and haven't seen it. And my boys going through East and graduating had not seen that. So I think the problem is that we don't have systemic racism. We suffer from systemic opportunities here in America. I'm concerned that I've been listening to the other board meetings. I've been coming here and I heard the SEL people say that we're rated 4 out of 5. That's really rated well. I learned that psychologists and social workers, mental health folks will be in every school. So that's great. It seems as though the gap has closed and we're covering off. So now I wonder when teachers will get back to teaching. I'm wondering, and I'm really grateful for the VFW being here, but I'm wondering when we get back to teaching patriotic history. Traditional education is being replaced. Traditional education is being replaced with storytelling, and it's voices from one side. You don't want to hear conservative kids' voices. They're not allowed to speak, and if they are, they're afraid to speak up. So we're just going to continue with the word salad of constantly changing the names of things. So critical race theory, which is just a theory, and a divisive racist one at that. Now cultural responsive teaching. We're just going to keep the word salad going, I guess, and never get to the bottom of it and why we even are talking about an equity program. I'm going to finish with Saul Alinsky's plan to destroy our country, 8 rules that he has. And you've kind of covered off on all of them. Number 1 is healthcare. Control healthcare, you control the people. Number 2, poverty. Increase poverty to the highest level, as poor people are easier to control and will not fight back when you're providing everything for them to live. Number 3 is debt. Increase debt to an unsustainable level. That way you're able to increase taxes and produce more poverty. Gun control is number 4. Remove the ability to defend yourself from the government. Create a police state. Number 5, welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives: food, shelter, home. Number 6 is education. Take control of what people listen to and read. Take control of what children learn in school. Take control of the media. Check, check, check on that. Number 7, religion. Remove the belief in God from government and schools. If you have no morals, there's no right and wrong, so get rid of that. And the last thing is class warfare, divide the people. This has all been very divisive. We want equality. That is not equity, and we've gone through this definition before. So I ask you and I pray, where's your wisdom? Where's your insight? May God bless you all.
Thank you. Next, Jen Amundson.
Hi, I'm Jen. my son and I are new to the area. My son will be a freshman in just a couple weeks. We are from the Roscoe Rockton area where the chemical plant just exploded. Whoops. Thank God nobody got hurt. But the point being, my son, as a single mom, did not say, "Mom, I'm scared to switch schools after 12 years of being in that town," about meeting friends and what's going to happen. He just said, "I want to start and I want the world to be right once again. I want to see my fellow students smiling back at me when I tell a joke." We spent last year doing 1 quarter at school. It was an option to go back and forth. So I kept the option of him going to school. We chose to stay home 1/4 2. Then comes second semester, the principal would not allow him to go back because the school was at max capacity. He spent the last second semester of his 8th grade at home, online, struggling. My child has always been a good student, a good grades, good sportsmanship, everything. His sports were taken away. Everything was taken away. I don't want him to struggle or feel different because one person's wearing a mask and the other person's not, or one person's vaccinated and the other person's not. I can't wait to start a new beginning in a new town with new people. That's not scary. That's exciting. And that's how he should feel going into his freshman year of high school. So please take in consideration these kids, high school, be an adult or not. We need to smile at one another. We need to see people's reactions. And we need the world right once again. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. TJ Penix.
Hello, my name is TJ Pinex. I've been up here before. I want to say that I appreciate you guys taking the time to do a pause for the audit. I just asked for more communication amongst the board members because I mean, we clearly have a communication problem because as it appears, many people are speaking on how deep equity would show that Caucasians are the oppressors and show that they internally hate people or something of that sort. But in reality, I mean, the contract that you guys canceled and revoted on, or sorry, not canceled, revoted on, was for the administrators, to my understanding, and the teachers. Yeah, not for the students. So I mean, yes program will be rolling out in a few years, but that's not what I'm talking about. But so I'm just confused on why the communication is so bad, and I just ask that you guys communicate better with us so we all are on the same page, and we wouldn't even be right here if there was better communication. So yep, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes citizen comments. Again, thank you for taking the time to speak this evening. We do not have a closed session. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bell. Mrs. Marsan, please call roll.
Mrs. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. McNally,
Yes.
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Lackner,
Yes.
and Mrs. Fairgrave.
Yes. The regular meeting of the D303 School Board is adjourned on Monday, July 12th at 8:30 p.m. Thank you.